Good morning, Dr. Andrew Adams. How are you doing today?
I'm
Welcome to
good.
the
I'm
Health
good.
IQ.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm not
Man,
also not a doctor.
oh, my apologies, my
Yeah,
apologies.
not a doctor. My dad's the doctor.
No, all good, all good. But I know you're very familiar with athlete injuries, and I wanted to talk to you about one of the most major ones that happened to us last month. Just the biggest star, biggest woman star, maybe the biggest star in college basketball, period, ended up tearing her ACL, which kind of ruined a lot of people's brackets, but also was just a very heart-wrenching moment to see. When you saw that reaction or when you saw that injury, did you know it was an ACL right away?
Yeah, I think you could it was non-contact, right? Um, so that's generally not a good sign, right? I think you saw the knee buckle. So, it's something serious, right? Um, but yeah, that's normally non-contact injuries could be, some of the worst injuries.
So I guess, can you maybe tell people exactly what an ACL tear is? And I know it happens a lot non-contact, but also happens through contact injuries. Can you kind of break down what an ACL injury is, ACL tear, and why it impacts athletes so drastically?
Um, well, it's definitely provides the stability to the knee, right? So without ACL, then your knee will be wobbling, right? No power. So that's really the main thing. And then as far as coming back from it, the strengthening the quads is, probably some of the main things that you need to do. Um, Strengthening, the calves and the ankles, all of the joints around the knee, you know, um, to make them as strong as possible to provide support for the knee. Um, so yeah, those are some of the main keys I would say.
Um, how long is the average recovery time for a full ACL tear, especially for an elite athlete like Juju?
I mean, you're looking at a good 9 months to a year. More on the year side.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, some people come back, on the 9 month side, but that's kind of a rare situation. It's more you see more people on the year side.
So, I guess what are some of the challenges you've seen from athletes in the middle of this recovery, this year long, 9 months, a year long recovery? What's a lot of challenges you see?
There's that obviously that first hump post surgery is it's pretty hard, it's very painful, right? Not a lot of sleep, right? So, it's mentally draining as well as physically draining. And then you get to a point where, you start to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, right? You're starting to get a little bit of definition back in your leg, right? You know, a little bit of movement in the knee. And then you get to that point to where you feel like, you're not you're not improving, anymore, kind of stagnant. So I would say at that wall, just probably around 5 to 6 months, I would say, is really when the days get long. It's very very consistent, very redundant. On things that you're doing in the training room. The therapies, the exercises, pretty much the same thing that you're doing for a while in that phase, and you can kind of go through the motions, right? And then if you just go through the motions, then you won't, be as good of an athlete as you were, before the injury, right? And then the people that can kind of push through that wall and kind of take it to the next level with that same redundant routine are the ones that, essentially get back to 100% kind of, performing at the same level as they were before.
So, I want to speak on another athlete that had another kind of serious ACL injury that's shining now. Paige Bueckers. She tore her ACL, I think, about 2 years ago, but but her recovery was a little bit longer. Like when she came back, she missed the whole year. And when she finally came back, probably about 18 months, she still looked a little bit shaky. It wasn't until this next year, right here, that she just won the championship. She looked like the Paige Bueckers of old. Is there usually that after the recovery? Is there like another year to kind of figure out how you are, or was that just her situation?
I mean, each athlete is different, right? Each sport is different, right? But I mean, it's you can't you can simulate, the game, but in order to um, really test it and really get out there, you have to e- essentially play the game, right? You can practice, you can do simulations, you can train, but at the end of the day, you have to go play the game at game speed to really know where you are. And so for each athlete, it's a little different. Each sport's a little different. But there is a ramp up phase as you are returning to sport. So even though that you are able to participate, in game like situations, there's still a ramp up period, that the body needs to have, right? You're not going to go. So for basketball, go play 60 minutes, right after, your first game back from an ACL, right? And so you take all these things into account, to try to manage and, um, have the athlete's best, interests at heart.
Can you maybe take me back, or not even take me back? I remember, let's say about 15, 20 years ago, and the athlete I'm specifically remembering was Gilbert Arenas. I remember when you would tear your ACL back then, people were used to think it's like a death sentence. Like your career is done, you're going to lose your athleticism. You're not going. There's no way to come back. What is the difference in, I guess, medicine and technology today that we're seeing all these athletes kind of recover back to their old status, their old playing level?
Say that one more time.
What is, I guess, is there a difference in the surgery, a difference in the medicine between now and I'll about say 20 years ago that we're seeing every athlete that ACL isn't considered a death sentence anymore that it used to
Right.
be back in the day?
No, yeah, definitely. There's always advancement and improvements of technology and science and different methods of rehabbing and going about these procedures. So yes, it has advanced. I would say medicine and it has advanced. Healthcare has advanced from 20 years ago, and so there is a lot more modalities that you can do post surgery, right? A lot of the things are the same. The methods are the same. It's just how they're implemented. Might be a little different or creative, but I would say yes, that is we do take that into account. Of why athletes might recover quicker nowadays than 20 years ago.
Let's go back to, I would say, '08, or not '08, I'm sorry, 2012. So that is about 13 years ago when Derrick Rose tore his ACL. And he was one of those players that even though he showed flashes, he never really went back to MVP level Derrick Rose. Why do you think the reason was for that? Do you feel like, was it technology back then? The surgeons just weren't as good? Or do you feel like it was just kind of where he was in his career? What would you attribute that to?
Yeah, man. I mean, some guys are injury prone, right? Some guys are, some some things just happen, right? You
Yep.
know, you're playing at a high levels, things happen. Biomechanical issues might come into a part, right? Overcompensating on one side and versus the other, right? One side might be stronger than the other, so these repeat of things might happen if they're not addressed or fixed. But I mean, I play with people that all they do is get treatment on their body, stretch every night, foam roll, and they keep pulling their hamstring and pulling this and pulling that, right? And I play with people that ate McDonald's and didn't do anything and drank Coke and they never had any injuries. So, I mean,
It's just the body sometimes.
yeah, right, definitely.
Could you maybe give, if you were to talk to Juju Watkins, Can you maybe give her two things she needs to know for this journey this recovery journey she's about to go on?
One, it's not easy, but anything worth, achieving or overcoming, isn't going to be easy, right? And two, she'll have the ability, even though she suffered this deficit, she'll have the ability to be better than she was before because of her mental capacity and what she's gone through. Um, would just make her a better player if she attacks this the right way.
Man, I just want to say I really appreciate you, Mr. Andrew Adams, for sitting with us today on the Health IQ and talking about ACL injury, specifically Juju's. Could you tell our audience exactly where you get your expertise from?
Yeah, so me, I actually had a lumbar fusion when I was in high school, which is low back surgery. Um, I played professional football for 8 years, so I've had a number of injuries. And my father has been a physical therapist for over 30 years. So, I've been treated, I would say in home, a lot. And also being a professional athlete, I've, been exposed to some of the top doctors, all the best, rehab protocols, techniques, modalities, which is what I've used when, playing in pro sports. So just being able to offer that, to the general public, and gone living it and gone through it, right? And having that doctor in my family, right? That's kind of where I get my expertise from.
Man, thank you, Mr. Andrew Adams, for stepping on Health IQ and talking to us about this injury today, man. We really appreciate the knowledge you spread.
No doubt. Thanks for having me.
Bye, sir.
Yes, sir.